There comes a time in every person's life when they stand at a crossroad, looking at two paths, one where they drift endlessly, waiting for fortune to come, and another where they boldly step forward, guided by purpose and faith. And it is in that decisive moment when you listen to the whisper of God within you that the truth is revealed. Money is not something you chase. It is something that begins to chase you when you align with the divine order of success. You see, wealth is not an accident. Prosperity is not a gift handed down to the few by chance. It is a law. It is a spiritual principle. It is a force that responds to clarity of thought and certainty of belief. And when God says, do this, and money will start chasing you, He is not speaking of idle wishing. He is pointing to the eternal principles of definiteness of purpose and unwavering faith. Most people wander through life like ships without a compass. They rise each morning without a clear vision of where they are going, what they are building, or why they are here. They chase after random opportunities, jumping from one idea to the next, always wondering why fortune slips through their fingers. But here is the truth. God never rewards the drifter. He rewards the man or woman who has taken the time to define their purpose, to carve into the stone of their mind a definite chief aim. The moment you decide exactly what you want and refuse to be moved by doubt or distraction, something remarkable begins to happen. Doors you never noticed begin to open. People you never expected to meet suddenly appear. Resources you once thought were far beyond your reach start to flow into your hands. Why? Because clarity attracts power, and power attracts wealth. Think of the great builders of industry, the inventors, the leaders who changed the course of history. None of them succeeded by accident. They had one thing in common. They knew exactly what they wanted. Andrew Carnegie knew he wanted to create an empire of steel. Thomas Edison knew he wanted to light the world. Henry Ford knew he wanted to put a car in the hands of every working man. And because their purpose was definite, because their aim was clear, money became their servant rather than their master. They did not run after riches like beggars in the street. Riches ran after them because they embodied a law of the universe, the law that says definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all wealth. Now you may be wondering, what if my purpose feels small? What if I don't yet know how to achieve it? Do not let those questions paralyze you. God does not demand that you know every step of the journey before you begin. He only asks that you choose a destination, that you declare to yourself and to the universe, this is what I will achieve, this is the life I will create, this is the value I will bring to the world. Once you make that declaration, once you write it on the tablets of your heart, the way will begin to unfold. And each step you take will lead to new opportunities, new connections, new ideas that bring you closer to your vision. But none of this happens until you decide. And here is where faith enters the stage. Faith, the master key to riches. Faith is not merely hope. Faith is not blind wishing. Faith is the assurance of things not yet seen, the conviction that what you desire already belongs to you in the invisible realm and is on its way into your hands. Faith is the power that transforms your definiteness of purpose from a dream into a reality. Without faith, even the clearest purpose remains just a thought. With faith, even the wildest dream becomes unstoppable. Many people confuse faith with luck. They think faith means sitting still and waiting for miracles, but true faith is active. True faith expresses itself through action, persistence, and discipline. When you step forward with faith, you are saying to God, I trust your promise. I trust that if I do the work, if I stay the course, knowledge by itself is like a treasure chest locked with iron chains. Millions carry books of wisdom in their hands, attend lectures, gather information from every corner of the earth, yet they remain poor, broken, and frustrated. Why? Because they never apply what they know. God never promised wealth to the one who knows everything but does nothing. He promised it to the one who takes what little he knows and applies it with faith, discipline, and purpose. Applied knowledge is the difference between a man who reads 100 books and starves, and a man who reads one book, applies its lessons, and builds an empire. Think about it. The world is filled with people who can talk endlessly about success, money, business, and growth, but their lives show no evidence of it. They are like men who study the science of farming but never plant a seed. Knowledge becomes power only when it is put into action. The person who takes even the smallest step in faith is already ahead of the one who spends years waiting to learn more. God does not reward idle learning. He rewards the bold application of wisdom. Consider the great innovators of history. Thomas Edison did not merely learn about electricity, he applied his knowledge in the laboratory, failing thousands of times until the light bulb was born. Henry Ford did not only study engines, he applied his knowledge until the automobile was in the hands of the common man. Andrew Carnegie did not only read about steel production, he applied strategies relentlessly until he built one of the greatest fortunes in history. Their power came not from how much they knew, but from how much they did with what they knew. You too hold in your hands knowledge that, if applied, could change your life. Perhaps it is the skill you have learned, the craft you have practiced, the wisdom you have absorbed from books, mentors, or experience. But no, ledge left unused becomes dust. You must act. You must take what you know and use it to serve, to solve, to build, to create. Do not wait until you think you know everything, for that day will never come. Move with what you have, and more will be added to you as you walk the path. God multiplies the seed you plant, not the one you hide in your pocket. And yet there is another principle without which applied knowledge fails to bear fruit: persistence. The world is filled with men and women who started with bold ideas, applied their knowledge for a time, but abandoned the journey when storms arose. They began with fire but could not endure the rain. They planted seeds but dug them up too soon, never waiting for the harvest. Understand this: persistence is the soil in which applied knowledge grows into riches. Without persistence, knowledge dies. Persistence is more than stubbornness. It is more than trying once or twice and then giving up. Persistence is faith in action, the refusal to quit even when circumstances shout that you should. Every great fortune is built upon persistence. No man has ever risen to greatness without first being tested, without first being shaken by trials, without first being asked the question by life itself: how badly do you want it? Think of Edison again, failing over 1,000 times before success. Imagine if he had quit after 10 attempts, or 100, or even 900. The world would have remained in darkness. Think of Colonel Sanders, rejected over 1,000 times before his recipe was accepted. Had he stopped after rejection number 50, we would never have heard his name. Think of Abraham Lincoln, defeated in election after election, losing business after business, yet persisting until he became President of the United States. Every story of greatness is the story of persistence, written in bold letters. Now listen close. Seeley. Persistence is not glamorous. Persistence is not exciting in the moment. It is often lonely, painful, filled with silence and discouragement. You may wonder if your efforts are wasted. Every fortune that has ever been built, every empire that has ever risen, every masterpiece that has ever been created began in the same place: the human imagination. Before the skyscraper touched the clouds, it lived as an image in the mind of an architect. Before the airplane lifted into the sky, it lived as a dream in the mind of the Wright brothers. Before the light bulb illuminated the night, it lived as a vision in the heart of Thomas Edison. Imagination is not fantasy. Imagination is the workshop of God inside your mind. It is the divine canvas where invisible riches are painted before they appear in the physical world. Most men look at their current circumstances and allow themselves to be trapped. They see lack, so they believe lack is all that exists. They see failure, so they believe success is impossible. They see obstacles, so they believe life is against them. But the man of imagination is different. He closes his eyes to what is and opens his heart to what can be. He dares to create a world in his mind that does not yet exist in reality. And when he commits to that vision with faith and persistence, reality bends to match his imagination. God has given every human being this power, yet so few use it. Too many people confine their imagination to daydreaming and wishing, but imagination, when directed with purpose, becomes the seed of wealth. Wealth chases the one who imagines solutions to problems, who imagines a better product, a better service, a better way of living. Every successful business began as nothing but a thought. Every invention began as a mental picture. Every great achievement was first born in the womb of imagination. But imagination alone is not enough. A man may dream 1,000 dreams and still die poor if he never acts. That is why decision and action are the partners of imagination. Decision is the moment when you stop drifting, stop doubting, stop hesitating, and declare with absolute certainty, "This is what I will do." Until that moment, imagination remains smoke. But the instant you decide, your vision takes form and your actions give it life. Indecision is the silent killer of dreams. How many people have you known who talked about starting a business, writing a book, creating something new? But year after year, they hesitated. They waited for the perfect time, the perfect resources, the perfect conditions. And because perfection never came, they never began. Their imagination became a prison instead of a power. They allowed opportunity to pass them by because they were too afraid to decide. God never rewards indecision. He rewards the decisive. The man who makes a decision, even if imperfect, moves closer to his goal than the man who hesitates with perfect plans. Opportunity loves speed. Wealth respects boldness. Money flows to those who act. The truth is, you will never have all the answers when you begin. You will never see the full path laid out before you. But when you make a decision and take the first step, the path reveals itself step by step. Think of the leaders who shaped history. Julius Caesar, crossing the Rubicon, declared his decision by burning the bridges behind him. There was no turning back. He had chosen, and his decision set events into motion that changed the world. Alexander Graham Bell did not simply imagine the telephone. He acted with relentless decision until the world heard his invention. Elon Musk did not merely dream of rockets and electric cars. He made decisions, took risks, and acted when the world called him crazy. This is the eternal law. Imagination conceives, decision commits, and action creates. You may think, but what if I make the wrong decision? Understand this. A wrong decision acted upon is often more valuable than no decision at all. Well, why? Because action produces experience, and experience produces correction. You can adjust your course while moving, but you cannot steer a ship that refuses to leave the harbor. There is a secret known to every man who has ever achieved greatness, a principle so powerful that it has lifted ordinary men into extraordinary wealth. It is this: no one rises to the top alone. Every fortune, every empire, every movement that changed the world was built on the foundation of collective genius. The lone wolf myth is a lie. Behind every great leader is a circle of allies, a mastermind group, a gathering of minds united by a single purpose. When two or more people come together in harmony, their minds create a third invisible force, a kind of spiritual electricity that amplifies their ideas, their energy, and their results. God designed it this way. You are not meant to walk this path of success in isolation. You are meant to connect, to collaborate, to join your purpose with others who share your vision. And when you do, doors open that you could never open alone. Money begins to chase not just you, but the collective strength of your alliance. Think about Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men of his time. He admitted openly that his fortune was not the product of his mind alone, but the combined power of a mastermind group. He surrounded himself with men who were stronger in certain areas than he was, men who could contribute ideas, strategies, and perspectives he lacked. Together they created wealth so massive it shook the foundations of industry. Or consider Henry Ford, who aligned himself with Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and other visionaries. Each of them benefited from the collective genius of the group. Alone, they were powerful. Together, they were unstoppable. The tragedy of most people's lives is that they surround themselves with critics, doubters, complainers, and small thinkers. They allow negative voices to poison their imagination and weaken their resolve. But if you would rise to greatness, you must choose your associations with the wisdom. Align yourself with those who believe in your vision, who challenge you to grow, who push you to act, who remind you of your faith when you begin to doubt. This is the true mastermind connection. It is not simply friendship. It is purposeful alliance. It is not merely networking. It is a covenant of shared success. But there is another truth to understand. Even with the strongest mastermind group, even with the greatest strategy, you will fail if you do not master yourself. Wealth will not flow to the man who is a slave to his emotions. Fear will paralyze him. Anger will blind him. Doubt will poison his actions. Impulsiveness will destroy his fortune as quickly as it is built. Controlled emotions are the key to sustaining success. Imagine a businessman who panics at the first sign of loss. His fear drives him to make rash decisions, to sell too soon, to abandon strategies that would have succeeded if he had stayed calm. Or think of a leader who cannot control his anger. He burns bridges, alienates allies, and destroys opportunities simply because he cannot hold his tongue. Or the dreamer who doubts himself at every turn, who hesitates and second guesses until opportunities vanish. These are not failures of intelligence or ability. They are failures of emotional control. God gave you emotions as servants, not as masters. Joy, passion, excitement, these drive you forward. But fear, envy, rage, if uncontrolled, they will enslave you. The man who would command wealth must first command himself. He must learn to stay calm in the storm, patient in the delay, disciplined in the temptation. He must develop the ability to act on reason guided by faith rather than react to every fleeting emotion. Look at the great leaders of history. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, ruled an empire yet wrote in his journal daily about mastering his own mind, controlling his emotions, and remaining steady amidst chaos. Or consider modern giants of business. Those who endure are the ones who do not let panic or greed dictate their choices.